for today. So for quarter 1, week 6, so we will be talking about the earthquake hazards. So na-mention natin last time that talking about earthquake, which is the temblor or the tremor, di ba sabi natin last week dun sa discussion, if you hear the word temblor or tremor, so that is another term for earthquake. Now, so counterpart ng mga hazards, if there's an earthquake, are the possible occurrence of tsunami and volcanic eruption, and we are very much aware of it. So sabi natin dyan, most earthquakes are caused by the movement of tectonic plates. They typically occur along fault planes and most frequently along boundaries of tectonic plates. There are 3 basic types of plate boundaries. So meron tayong, most of the earthquakes that we have happen because of the movement of the tectonic plates. And talking about the different types of plates, meron tayong 3. Una, yung divergent. So kapag sinabing meron tayong divergent, convergent, and transform. So paano kaya nagkakaiba-iba yung 3 na yun? Kailan natin masasabi na siya ay divergent? Kailan natin masasabi na siya ay convergent? At kailan natin masasabi na ang plate ay transform? So use your hand to show the different ways that tectonic plates interact with each other. Plates moving away from each other is divergent. So halimbawa itong kamay na to. If we will use these hands of ours as the representation of plates. So, di ba ang mga plates, yan yung mga boulders of rocks na nagkikiskisan under the ground. So, assuming that our palm or our hand is the plate. Now, so use your hands to show the different ways that tectonic plates interact with each other. Plates moving away. So, ito yung palad natin, ito yung kamay natin. If the plates are moving away from each other, lumalayo. So, papalayo siya. It is divergent, crashing into each other. So, kapag plates moving away from each other, so lumalayo siya, papalayo sa isa't isa, that is divergent. Kapag naman crashing into each other, so kumbaga pag sinabing crashing, so nagtatamaan, so tumatama sa isa't isa in whatever form it is, pwedeng up and down. So let's say pag ganyan, o pag ganyan, pakiskis, so that is what? Convergent. Or sliding past each other, so pag naman sliding, so yung isa papataas, yung isa pababa. Sliding past each other, that is transform, all result in earthquakes. Ulitin natin. If the plates move away from each other, so let's say ito yung plate. So originally nakaganyan siya, but because of the movement or the temblor of the Earth's crust, there is a tendency for the plates to move away from each other, so lumalayo siya isa-isa. So yun ang dahilan kung bakit nagkakaroon ng fault line. Or let's say yung bitak sa lupa. Kasi ang tendency, nagkakaroon ng divergent movement of plates. So kaya nagkakaroon ng siwang. Kasi some plates are moving away from each other. So lumalayo siya. Until such time na magkaroon na ng malaking bitak sa lupa. That is due to divergent plates. Movement of plates. Now, kapag naman crashing, yung crashing into each other, so nagtatama siya o nagkikiskisan. So nagkikiskisan siya, so that is convergent plate movements, the 3 plate boundaries. Now kapag naman sliding past each other, so yung isa papataas o nag-i-slide, o let's say nandito isa fix lang, and then yung nandito sa kabila nag-slide down siya, until such time na naka-fix na siya sa position na yan, pa-slide. So that is what? Transform. So those are the basic types of plate boundaries. Now, nobody can predict when earthquakes will happen. But earthquake scientists use historical records combined with measurements on ongoing plate movement to guess how likely an earthquake is in the future. So sabi natin, earthquake is very unpredictable. No one can tell when an earthquake will happen. So kaya nga sabi, it is one of the natural hazards that when we say natural hazard, it is beyond our control. It is something that we cannot control, and it is something that no one can say or can tell when and at what location it will happen. So walang nakakaalam kung kailan at kung sa anong eksaktong lokasyon siya mangyayari. Though meron tayong mga ginagamit na mga measurements or monitoring tool to know if there is movement, pero yung pagdating mismo, hindi mo naman siya mababantayan kailan talaga magkakaroon ng malakas na pagyanig na kung saan mararamdaman ng maraming tao. So since it is nature, by nature, it is brought about by nature. It is natural hazard. Okay, so the energy earthquakes release travels in the form of waves called seismic waves. Each earthquake produces 3 basic types of seismic waves. Each seismic wave has different type of motion and travels through the earth at different speeds. So kapag sinabi nating seismic waves, yun yung movement na kung saan moving away from the source, from the point, or from the focus. So scientists measure seismic waves produced by an earthquake using devices such as seismograph or seismometer. A seismograph records ground vibration. So kapag sinabing seismograph, ito ay isang uri ng measuring tool or device na kung saan sinusukat niya o siya yung nagre-record ng ground vibration. So pag sinabing ground vibration, di ba when we say vibration, it is the movement of the ground. So kung let's say nag-move yung ground, so yung vibration na yon will cause what? Will cause the upward and downward movement. At yung part na kung saan ay merong graph na nagmo-move up and down, ang responsible sa pag-record ng vibration na yon is the seismograph, which is an earthquake device used to record the vibration of the ground. So with a sensor attached to the ground, it records the arrival of seismic waves at that point. The height of the largest waves indicate the size of an earthquake. So kung makikita nyo, doon sa seismograph na kung saan nagre-record ng ground vibration, so may pagganyan siya, yung up and down movement. So kung makikita nyo siya, I do not know if you can see it. Nakikita nyo ba? Ay, hindi.
Hindi po.
Asan yung eraser ko, Jay? Eraser. Halimbawa ito, kanina ko itong lesson eh. So, assuming, so ito yung seismograph, yung nakikita natin na parang sa ospital yung monitor. So yun naman ay isang monitor sa hospital, but in seismograph, meron mga waves na nag-create. So, yan, yung may mga ganyan na up and down movement. So these are the waves. Now, yung pinaka-peak na nandito, so, yung pinaka-peak na sinasabi, the height of the largest waves indicates the size of an earthquake. So, ito yung tinatawag na height. So, yung pinaka-mataas na portion, kaya nga malalaman, let's say itong pinaka-peak na to ay sa bandang Pangasinan. So, sa Pangasinan, yung kanyang intensity, for example, is 5.9, but in some other places, let's say, eto lang yung peak nila, so pwedeng 3.9. So, yung pinaka-height noong wave represents the what? It represents the height na kung saan yung largest wave indicate the size of an earthquake, kung gaano siya kalaki. So, again, ito yung height noong earthquake, noong vibration na na-record sa seismograph, at iyan ang nagsasabi kung gaano kalawak at gaano kalaki yung sakop ng earthquake. Saan yung takip?
Right.
Okay, so given the length of the earthquake record, excuse me. So So given the length of the earthquake record and the arrival times of each wave, the distance of the focus from the recording point can be determined. So if you can still remember, last time na-mention natin yung difference between the epicenter and the focus. So ano nga yung natatandaan nyo kapag sinabing epicenter at focus? Anyone? Yes. Sino yung nagtataas ng kamay? So dito kasi ko nakatingin sa... Okay, yes, Jovelyn. What is the difference between the epicenter and focus?
Ma'am, dun sa focus po, this is the initial slip on the fault where the earthquake origins po. Tapos yung sa epicenter or the directly above the focus. Spot po siya.
Okay. So kung baga, alin... Okay. So, yes. Alin yung... Kung titingnan natin, kung halimbawa, nandito, let's say, eto yung bahay mo. Oh, yes. Hindi ko alam kung nakikita nyo siya. So, assuming na nandito yung bahay ninyo. Now, nilindol, nagkaroon ng shaking. So, nagkaroon ng pitak ang lupa. So, let's say dito, from here, dito nagsimulang magkaroon ng plate movements. And then, ano yung nandito sa ibabaw? So, yung focus, saan siya makikita? Above or below the ground? That is where the initial movement or slip occurs. So, ibig sabihin, nasaan sa ilalim o sa ibabaw?
Sa ilalim.
Yes,
Sa
Bernadette.
Under.
Okay. Si focus, nandun siya sa ilalim. This is where the movement originates. Dun siya nagmula. Now, yung center, yung epicenter, ano naman siya?
Above the
Sa
earth's
taas.
surface.
Sa taas.
Okay. So, nandito siya. Kung saan, mararanasan sa surface. Kaya nga halimbawa, nagkaroon ng movement, nandito sa ilalim ng focus, right above it, yung epicenter. So halimbawa, Pangasinan na to. So, etong area na to sa Pangasinan, nandito yung pinakasentro ng lindol. Okay? So, let us proceed. So, scientists measure seismic waves produced by an earthquake using devices such as seismograph. So, the height of the largest waves indicates the size of an earthquake. Given the length of the earthquake record and arrival times of each wave, the distance of the focus from the recording point can be determined. It takes data from at least 3 seismographs to determine the location of an earthquake's focus. By using seismographs all over the world, scientists can pinpoint the location of an earthquake's epicenter deep below the Earth using triangulation. So, para pala ma-measure yung kung baga nasaan ang focus at epicenter ng earthquake, hindi lang sila nakabase sa iisang seismograph. So at least they use 3 seismographs and compare it at kung ano yung makuha na data doon sa first seismograph na nagja-jive doon sa second and third, then that is the time that they can decide where is the focus coming from or where is the epicenter of the earthquake. Kung baga sabi nga ng kasabihan, one is good, one is enough. But again, 2 heads are better than 1. How much more if it is 3, di ba? So, kung baga, para makuha nila yung definite or exact location of the focus of the earthquake and of the epicenter, they are using 3 seismographs and compare the results. So, it is not just only practice in the Philippines but all over the world, especially those areas which are very prone to earthquakes. Okay, so do the lines created by the pen in the seismograph look like anything you've seen before? Earthquake waves travel just like sound waves. In fact, earthquake waves can echo and can be detected in different parts of the world. So sinasabi din na yung seismograph ay hindi lang siya, dahil siya ay responsible sa pag-record ng vibration ng earthquake or ng ground vibration. So pwedeng yun daw earthquake, since it is a wave, di ba alam natin na one of the example of wave is sound. And the reason why we can hear sound is because of the sound waves. Now, a earthquake can also be heard in other countries by echo, since it is an example of wave. So siguro hindi man marinig, pero yung ramdam na kahit paano yung nearby countries, mararamdaman nila na meron konting pagyanig. Though, hindi sa kanila, hindi sa bansa nila nagkaroon ng lindol, pero since ang ground ay connected to one another, di ba nga sabi sa araling panlipunan o sa kasaysayan o yung civica noong elementary, dati daw tayo ay ang mga bansa sa buong mundo ay isang malaking lupa, isang malaking tipak na lupa, na kung saan pag ikaw ay nasa Pilipinas at gusto mong pumunta ng Indonesia, all you just have to do is to walk by feet. So maglalakad ka lang, hindi mo mapapansin mula sa Pilipinas nasa Indonesia ka na. Iyon ay dahil solid ang ground. So kumbaga connected tayo ng solid mass. But because of the different natural hazards, nagkaroon ngayon ng pagkakahiwa-hiwalay ng mga masa ng lupa na nagsanhi para magkaroon ng mga kapuluan, ng mga kontinente. Yun ang dahilan kung bakit before ang mga Malays, ang mga Indonesians na paroot parito sa Pilipinas, hindi na ngayon nagagawa. Bakit? Kasi meron ng divided, meron ng division, and that is water. But before, kung bakit ang mga Pilipino, kung titingnan natin pag pupunta ka sa Malaysia, para mga Pilipino rin sila. Kasi nga before, during the early times, paroot parito lang sila sa ating bansa, sa Pilipinas. Even the Indonesians, yung resemblance ng Filipino at mga Indonesians are just the same. Because of the historical background that during the early times, yung mga sinaunang Pilipino, nakikipag-socialize sila dun sa mga bansa na kalapit ng bansa natin na nagta-travel lang by land. So kumbaga lakad dito, lakad doon, so yun. But because of the natural calamities happened, many years had passed, so yung mga lupa na yun nabitak. And probably one of the reasons ay yung tinatawag nating mga earthquakes. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na mga Pangea. So na kung saan yung mga nagkaroon ng mga kontinente nagkabitak-bitak. But if you will try to look at it in the map and you try to connect the different countries or the different continents together, parang makikita mo para lang silang puzzle. Na pag pinag-connect-connecta mo, pinaglapit mo, mabubuo siya. Kasi yun ang dahilan. Ang isa sa mga dahilan kung bakit nabitak yan, nagkahiwalay, it's because of the different hazards, specifically earthquakes at iba't iba pang mga hazards na nangyari. Okay? So again, yun ang dahilan kung bakit kapag may earthquake sa isang lugar at talagang malakas, other nearby countries can also hear it, can feel it, because the most affected part of an earthquake is the solid ground. At alam natin na pag pumukpok ka, kahit malayo yung lugar, dahil ang ingay na ito ay tumama sa solid ground, so yan ay maririnig ng yung mga tao sa kabilang kwarto o sa kabilang bahay, maririnig because of the vibration, because of the echo. Okay? So in fact, earthquake waves can echo and be detected in different parts of the world. Okay? So, let us continue. So, our task for today is to interpret different earthquake hazard maps. So, ito, hindi na siya, puzzle. So, tectonics, from Latin tectonicus, so take note of that, Latin word tectonicus. So, meaning pertaining to building. Kapag sinabing tectonicus, pertaining to building. So, ano bang klaseng building? Pagtatayo o isang gusali? So, let's find out. So, from Latin tectonicus, meaning pertaining to building, is the process that controls the structure and properties of the Earth's crust and its evolution through time. Okay, so ito daw yung isang proseso na kung saan ay pumipigil o kumokontrol sa mga istruktura at itsura ng Earth o ng Earth's crust, kung ano yung makikita natin sa ibabaw sa ibabaw ng kalupaan and its evolution through time. So, again, kapag sinabi nating tectonics, it is the Latin word. The Latin word for it is tectonicus, which means pertaining to building. So, yan ang dahilan kung bakit kung ano man ang itsura ng ating kalupaan, ng Earth's crust, it has something to do with what? It has something to do with the plate movements or the plate the plate boundaries. So it is the one that controls the structure and properties of the Earth's crust. So yun ang dahilan kung bakit merong mga areas na mataas o bulubundukin, merong mga areas na kapatagan, meron namang mga areas na tinatawag na plateau o yung mga talampas na mataas tapos sa pinakaibabaw ay patag na lupa. So just like in Baguio. So ang reason, ang dahilan kung bakit yung structure at properties ng Earth's crust o kung ano yung nasa kaibabawan ng lupa ay iba-iba, it's because of tectonics. Okay. So in particular, it describes the processes of mountain building. So yan nga, yun ang dahilan kung bakit merong mga mountains. The growth and behavior of the strong old cores of continents, known as cratons, and the ways in which the relatively rigid plates that constitute the Earth's outer shell interact with each other. So tectonics also provide a framework for understanding the earthquake and volcanic belts that directly affect much of the global population. So yung tectonics din, ang isa sa dahilan para maunawaan natin bakit yung mga lindol at yung mga lugar na kung saan madalas na pangyarihan ng mga volcanic eruption ay may co-consider as malaking ang epekto in terms of global population. So obviously, if the place is prone to earthquake and volcanic eruption, more or less it has something to do, we can say that there is really effect in terms of the global population or in terms of the population of the place. So usually, kapag ang isang lugar madalas nililindol o madalas na nagkakaroon ng eruption ng volcano, malaki ang epekto niyan sa population. So syempre, dahil madalas na sumasabog o nililindol, maraming buhay ang nawawala. Okay? So, and that's the reason why we have to know the different hazard maps. Okay? So, tectonic studies are important as guide for economic geologists searching for fossil fuels and or deposits of metallic and non-metallic resources. So, ang tectonics din ay pwedeng makatulong sa atin para maunawaan natin. So, since ang mga volcano ay nag-expel ng mga materials from the eruption, so pwedeng gamitin natin yan, yung mga geologists, sa tulong ng mga geologists, ano ba yung mga materials from the exploded volcano na maaari nating mapakinabangan. So ano yung mga fossil fuels? So yung mga metal ore, baka mamaya sa pagbuga nila during that time, na nagkaroon ng volcanic eruption, sa pagbuga ng bulkan, merong mga metal ores na nakasama. So, malalaman din natin kung gaano ba ang extent. So, kasi ang let's say, gold, silver, yung mga cobalt, or just simply stones, o silica. So, kapag iyan yung mga ibinuga, malalaman, madedetect kung gaano ba kalalim yung lindol, o gaano ba kalalim yung extent. Remember na pag nagkaroon ng volcanic eruption, more or less there is the tremblor or the shaking of the Earth's crust. So kung ano man ang ibinuga ng bulkan, more or less mame-measure gaano ba kalalim ang pinanggalingan niyan. So kung ang ibinubuga lang niya ay silica, yung mga silicon, more or less mababaw lang yung pinanggalingan ng lindol, so yung kanyang focus ay mababaw lang, so more or less kapag lumindol, yung epicenter na kung saan tinamaan yung isang lugar, hindi ganoon kalakas ang lindol. But then again, kapag ang kasama ng ibinuga ng bulkan, for example, ay carbon or let's say silver or let's say may particles of gold, ibig sabihin, iyon ay nanggaling deep within the Earth's crust. So napakalalim niya na. So possible na yung focus, yung magnitude ay mataas. Kaya kapag ka tumama doon sa yung aalamin natin yung epicenter, mas matindi ang epekto doon sa mga nasalanta ng lindol. So, yung pagbuga ng mga materials ng volcano has something to say with how strong the earthquake is. So, kung baga parang ikaw, isang tao ka na tahimik lang, pagka, let's say, may ginawa sa'yo na hindi maganda at first time lang naman, nagalit ka pero hindi ganun katindi. So, nagalit ka. Pero nag-voice out ka, hindi ganun katindi yung galit mo. Pero kapag ikaw yung tao na tahimik lang, hindi kumikibo, tapos yung tao na yun, ginagawan ka ng masama, ng paulit-ulit pero nagtitimpi ka. Pero sabi nga, kapag daw puno na ang takalan ng bigas, kailangan ng salupi, kailangan ng kalusin. So dahil nagtitimpi ka at yung tao na yon several times, maraming beses na paulit-ulit na ginagawan ka ng masama at nag-ipon na yung galit mo, mas matindi, di ba? Yung galit mo na ibubuga, na ilalabas kapag talagang naipon na at talagang pinakakaila-ilaliman ng puso mo, lahat ng sama ng loob mo ilalabas mo. So, kumbaga sa volcano, kapag ang pinanggalingan lang ay mababaw, yes, nagalit ka pero hindi ganun katindi ang epekto. Pero kapag ang pinanggalingan ay malalim, so kapag iyan ay inilabas mo at nag-voice out ka, sobra. So kasi nga, yung pinanggalingan ng materials, yung origin na kung saan siya nagmula, ay magkaiba ng destination or location. So again, by simply knowing the fossil fuels and the metal ores or the ores expelled by volcanic eruption, so that can tell us kung gaano katindi, gaano kalakas at ano ang extent ng earthquake na ma-experience sa isang lugar or na-experience sa isang lugar. Okay, so important points. Earthquakes, a sudden rapid shaking of the ground caused by a rapid release of energy. So alam na natin yan, sudden. Kapag sinabing sudden, bigla, rapid shaking, mabilis na pagyanig. So bigla at mabilis na pagyanig na ng lupa na nagsasanhi, ito ay nangyari because of the release of energy under the ground. So kapag sinabi nating epicenter, sabi nga natin nung nakaraan, the point on the Earth's surface that is vertically above the focus of an earthquake. So vertically above. So kapag sinabi nating vertically pataas, so nandito si focus sa ilalim, vertically pataas, nandun si epicenter. Now, fault. A break or fracture in a rock mass across which movement has occurred. So pag sinabi naman nating fault, alam natin yan, fault line, bitak. It is a break or fracture in a rock mass. So, masa siya ng isang malaking lupa o tipak ng bato. Shall we say, malaking tipak ng bato na gumalaw. At dahil gumalaw yon, whether it is divergent, palayo, whether it is convergent, o yung crashing, or whether it is transformed, whatever movement it is, kapag nagkaroon ng break, nabitak, o nagkaroon ng fracture or lamat, yung masa o malaking bulto ng bato sa ilalim ng lupa, that is a fault or a fault line. Now, kapag sinabi naman nating focus, kung yung epicenter ay right above the focus, nasa ibabaw, so kapag sinabi naman nating focus, hypocenter, the point of origin of an earthquake. Nasa under the ground siya, sa ibabaw nun ang epicenter, pero kung saan nandoon ang focus, that is where the earthquake, the point of origin, kung saan doon talaga siya unang-unang nagsimula, unang nagkaroon ng shaking or temblor. So that is focus or hypocenter. Next, seismograph. Any of various instruments for measuring and recording the vibrations of earthquakes. So, ulitin natin kapag sinabing seismograph, yan ay ginagamit sa pag-measure or pag-record ng ground vibration, yung pagyanig ng lupa at kung anuman ang vibration or wave na nabuo nun, up and down, so that is being recorded through seismograph or seismograph. Now, when we say tectonic plates, it is massive, irregularly shaped sections of Earth's crust that are constantly in motion. So actually, sabi nga natin, every day, every minute, every second, there's an earthquake. But those earthquakes, there are earthquakes that cannot be felt by people. Probably because we are too busy with our work, kaya dahil sa sobrang hina niya, hindi na natin naramdaman. But always that every day there are thousands or even hundreds of earthquakes going on. It's just happened that not all can be felt. At tanging special instruments lang ang nakaka-measure at nakakaalam kung meron bang pagyanig. So yung naire-report sa atin na pagyanig na talagang ramdam natin ay yun yung talagang yung pinaka-height ng wave ay mataas. Pero everyday, as I've said, everyday earthquake is happening. Yun nga lang, hindi siya ganoon kalakas. Now, let us take a look at this earthquake magnitude scale. Okay. So kung nakikita natin dito sa earthquake magnitude scale, meron tayong tinatawag na micro, major, micro, major, minor, easy, light, then moderate, and then great and strong. So kung dito sa 1.0, makikita natin yung seismograph. So there is what? So yung pinaka-height niya, itong nasa itaas na to, iyan yung mararamdaman sa lupa na shaking. And then meron din dito na sa ibaba, na patusok na sa ibaba. So ibig sabihin, it is felt under the ground. So diyan siya nagmula. Now, mula dito sa pantay, so mula sa wala, kumbaga walang shaking, and then bigla may pagyanig. And then, di ba ang earthquake hindi naman siya continuous, parang lalakas, hihina, lalakas, hihina until such time na mag-disappear na lang siya. Then aftershocks and then totally wala na. So this is how the ground vibration is being recorded by a seismograph. So it's between 1.0 and 2.0. And then kung makikita natin, ang ginamit nilang model is yung parang sasakyan o parang na merong gulong. So kapag ka between 2.0 and 3.0, so meron ng konting movement. So nakikita nyo doon sa parang bilog na meron siyang nakaganyan, parang hangin. So yan siya. Though it cannot be felt and it will not cause any danger or any damage. And then 3.0 to 4.0, at eto na siya. Yung aklat na kanina, yung parang bookshelf, para siyang bookshelf na kanina ay nakahapay sa isang side. Dito sa pagitan ng 3.0 and 4.0, medyo gumalaw yung aklat. So ito na yung pwedeng maramdaman natin. At usually ito naman talaga yung ganito ang nararanasan natin sa kasalukuyan dito sa atin na hindi naman sentro ng lindol. Naglalaro sa pagitan ng 3.0 to 4.0. Ramdam siya pero hindi siya ganoon nakakatakot. Now, if the earthquake is in between 4.0 to 5.0, yung mga aklat na nandun sa loob ng bookshelf ay nalaglag na. So possible na kung meron kayong mga furniture o mga bagay na nakasabit sa ceiling, pwede siyang malaglag. And kung nakikita natin, meron nakapaibabaw dun sa bookshelf at parang walis ba yun? So gumalaw na siya, nalaglag na rin siya. Okay? And then if it is between 5.0 to 6.0, so yung bahay, so medyo naaalarma na, and then kung nakikita mo parang may nabasag na, salamin or bricks, so meron ng nalaglag. So slight damage on houses, mararamdaman na yan. Now, if it is between 6.0 to 7.0, so yan ay malakas-lakas na. So titingnan nyo yung pinaka-foundation ng bahay, yung kanyang poste, gumiray na, pumaling na. And then some mirror, yung mga window panes, nabasag na rin siya. So yan, nakita nyo yung bahay, medyo nakahapay na. Now, if it is between 7.0 to 8.0, bumigay na yung bahay. Ayan na siya, parang nahati. Nahati yung up portion, dahil up and down siya, bumigay na yung nasa upper portion, so bumaba na siya. And then, if it is between 8.0 to 9.0, so yan, between 8.0 to 10.0, yan na yung talagang makikita nyo, yung total damages. Na kung saan yung mga buildings, yung mga houses, ay mga bumigay, nagiba, bumagsak, mga nawasak. So again, itong 1.0, it's micro, and then 2.0, minor, 3.0, light, 4.0, great, then 5.0, minor, and then, sige, let us identify. So micro, tapos easy, minor, light, moderate, great, major, and then strong. So that's the arrangement. So iyan yung pinaka-scale na pwede nating malaman in terms of the magnitude of the earthquake, represented by a simple diagram. Now, let us give the difference between the concept of magnitude and intensity. Kapag sinabing magnitude, ano ba yung dapat nating tandaan? Kapag sinabing intensity, ano dapat yung isipin natin? Now, magnitude of an earthquake refers to the amount of energy released. Lakas, dami ng energy released. Earthquake refers to the amount of energy released measured by an amount of ground displacement or shaking. It is calculated based on record of the earthquake seismograph and represented by Arabic numerals, example 4, 8, 9, and 0. So, kapag sinabing magnitude, ito ay nangangahulugan ng amount of energy na nirelease na kung saan nasusukat o sinusukat dito yung ground displacement or shaking. Gaano ba kalaki yung paggalaw ng lupa? Yung pag-move ng lupa from one place to another. At siya ay nasusukat gamit ang seismograph na nagre-record ng ground vibration. Pag naman sinabing intensity, it is the strength of an earthquake as perceived and felt by people in a certain locality. Ibig sabihin, kapag ka magnitude, iyan yung lakas na nararamdaman mula sa point of origin sa ilalim ng lupa, magnitude. So kapag naman intensity, ito yung lakas ng lindol as perceived. Kapag sinabing as perceived and felt, ito yung lakas ng lindol na nararamdaman ng mga tao doon sa isang lugar. Pag magnitude, yun yung lakas, amount of energy released from the ground, kung saan nagkakaroon ng ground displacement and shaking. So kung let's say ang focus ay doon sa, let's say, 1,000 kilometers below the ground, magsukat ka 1,000 kilometers and doon nagsimula yung shaking. From there, from mula doon sa focus na yon, papunta sa ibabaw, that's the magnitude. So susukatin siya. But then again, kapag sinabi nating intensity, it is the strength, lakas ng lindol na kung saan ay nararamdaman at kumbaga nararamdaman ng mga tao dun sa isang lugar. It is a numerical rating based on related effects to people, objects, environment, and structures in the surroundings. The intensity is generally higher near the epicenter. So, kapag daw sinabing intensity, it is generally higher near the epicenter. So, kung nasaan ang epicenter ng lindol, it is generally higher. It is represented by Roman numerals 2, 4, and 9. So kapag ka magnitude, nire-represent siya ng Arabic numbers. Yung usual na pagsulat natin ng numbers. Kapag naman intensity ang pag-uusapan, to represent the intensity, we write them and represent them by using Roman numerals. Yung I, yung X, yung L, yung mga Roman numerals yan. Kapag nakita nyo na ang ginamit na representation is Roman numeral, that is talking about intensity. Kapag ang ginamit naman ay Arabic numbers, kung paano natin sinusulat ang numbers, and they are talking about earthquake, and that is represented by Arabic numbers, so magnitude naman ang ibinibigay na halimbawa. So again, pag magnitude, amount of energy released, and it measures the ground displacement from the point of origin. Kapag intensity, ito yung lakas ng lindol na nararamdaman ng mga tao dun sa isang lugar. Okay, now, let us proceed to hazard maps. Kapag sinabing hazard maps, ano ang ibig sabihin? People and properties are affected by earthquake due to any or a combination of the following. So, marami alam natin yung naaapektuhan because of earthquake. So, marami yung mga considerations. Bakit sila naaapektuhan? Una, because of the unsafe location. When we say unsafe location, ibig sabihin, yung lugar na kanilang kinalalagyan ay hindi ligtas. Probably, they are living near mountains. Probably, they are living near the shore or seashores or bodies of water. So, yun yung mga consideration for us to say that the location is unsafe. So, hazardous yung lugar. Now, if there is poor construction of what? Poor construction of houses, of buildings. So alam natin na malaki ang magiging damage or hazard if the construction of building or houses is not strong. So mas poor ang construction o ang ginamit ng mga materials ay lightweight, so ang tendency, mabilis bumigay yung mga houses and buildings. Kapag ang ginamit naman ay mga standard na materials, yung mga sakto talaga na materyales na ginagawa pang building o sa mga pambahay, so mas protected tayo doon sa mga malalakas na lindol kasi hindi sa basta-basta bibigay. Now, people don't believe or know that they can be affected. So meron ding mga dahilan o meron ding mga tao na naniniwala, we will not be affected by earthquake. So bahay namin matibay yan, hindi yan gigiba, hindi kami maaapektuhan. So, yung maling paniniwala. Remember that earthquake is something that we cannot control. So, it is something na walang makapagsasabi how strong or what damage can it give us. So, tanging siya lang. At kung kailan siya mangyari, yun ang makapagsasabi kung ano at hanggang saan yung pwede niyang wasakin. So, people don't believe or know that they can be affected. So, sabi nga natin, uncontrolled situation yan. So, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, mansyon ng bahay ko, hindi yan magigiba. Mali. So, people don't know how they can be affected. And meron din namang iba na, paano ko maapektuhan pag bumagsak ang bahay ko? Ang bahay ko naman, bahay kubo lang. O yari lang sa sasa, o yari lang sa lipahat. So, kumbaga, yung mga walang alam, people don't know what to do, and there is lack of timely and proper response. So yung mga tao din na hindi alam kung anong gagawin. At unang-una, yung mga tao na walang preparation or kumbaga yung response ay napakabagal. So lack of timely and proper response. So sila yung mga dapat i-consider in making hazard maps. Okay? So ito, jumbled words. So since 1986, PHIVOLCS has recorded 12 destructive earthquakes in the Philippines. So kung nagbasa kayo ng weekly home learning plan, parang may question ako doon na ilang recorded earthquakes na meron ang masasabi o maiko-consider as destructive. At meron din akong question, if I am not mistaken, ano yung mga lugar na talagang madalas na tinatamaan ng lindol o let's say yung mga volcanic eruption. So merong mga question doon sa weekly home learning plan. And those are the things that you have to answer. Hindi itong mga nandito sa activity. Okay, sabi ko nga, minodify ko na yung mga questions doon, pinagsama-sama ko na doon sa weekly home learning plan na yun. So this record includes the infamous July 16, 1990 Luzon earthquake. So yung Mount Pinatubo eruption, out of the destructive 12 earthquakes in the Philippines, kasama yung nangyari na Luzon earthquake. Yung nangyari 1990 and then followed by Mount Pinatubo eruption noong 1991 na nag-trigger because of that earthquake na nangyari noong 1990. So, July 16, 1990 Luzon earthquake which caused innumerable injuries and at least 1,100 deaths. Seismicity, geographic and historical distribution of earthquake events is all over the country except in the Palawan region. So, sabi dito, seismicity, geographic and historical distribution of earthquake events is all over the country except in the Palawan region. Bakit kaya? Yun daw pagyanig ng lupa at yung pagkakaroon ng lindol dito sa buong Pilipinas more or less ay nararamdaman. Let's say dito ka sa Luzon, pag lumindol sa Luzon, more or less some areas in Visayas and Mindanao region can still feel. Sabi nga natin, earthquake is like an echo that can be heard, that can be felt in other parts of the world. So how come si Palawan region hindi? Sa palagay nyo, bakit?
Nakahiwalay yung mapa niyo.
Okay, yes. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, kasi po if you will look at the Philippine map, 'di ba parang siya yung kamay na nakahiwalay, para siya yung isang pulo na makikita natin na nakahiwalay. Take note, kapag try nyo na magdugtong-dugtong ng lahat ng solid objects, maglagay ka ng timba, maglagay ka ng batya, maglagay ka ng mga solid materials, tapos dikit-dikitin mo siya. Then kuha ka ng pamatpat, ng pamalo. Then pukpukin mo yung batya. Pakiramdaman mo, lahat ng mga objects na nakadikit sa batya, more or less magkakaroon ng vibration. Gagalaw kahit paano. Pag sinabing vibration, para siyang nanginginig-nginig. So kapag pinukpok mo uli, mararamdaman mo lahat ng nakadikit dun sa batya, merong vibration. It's just like lahat ng mga kalupaan na magkakadikit, connected to one another. Kapag dyan sa isang lupa na yan, na solid mass, ay nagkaroon ng shaking, all the parts of the ground na connected doon, hindi man, malayo man siya, pero nakakonekta, more or less, can feel the vibration on the ground. Kaya nga, doon nagkakatalo sa tinatawag na intensity, o intensity 1, intensity 2, 3, 4, 5, doon sa iba't ibang mga lugar. Depende doon sa pinangyarihan, yung epicenter, gaano na ba kalayo, ilang kilometro na ba. Now, since Palawan is not connected to any parts of the region, yung Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, though we can consider that as what region ang Palawan? Saan siya kasama? Luzon pa ba siya, Visayas o Mindanao?
So,
Anyone? O, kung titingnan natin, nandito yung Luzon, tapos yung Visayas region na parang pulo-pulo, tapos nakahiwalay siya, na matatagpuan mo siya sa parang gitna. And then nandun sa ibaba, yung Mindanao. So if you will try to look at it, it's like it belongs to Visayas region. But then again, hindi siya nakadikit. That's why kung meron mga shaking ng ground or earth's crust sa Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, mararamdaman ng mga magkakadikit. Pero si Palawan, hindi. Bakit? Kasi separated siya. So, isa siyang malaking pulo na nakahiwalay. Though parte siya ng Pilipinas, pero isa siyang pulo na kung saan hindi connected sa any solid ground or any solid part ng Pilipinas. Though part siya, pero hindi siya directly connected. And that's the reason. Sabi dito, seismicity, geographic and historical distribution of earthquake events is all over the country except in the Palawan region. Kaya magkalindol man anywhere in the Philippines, sa Luzon, Visayas, or Mindanao, so itong Palawan, hindi siya makakaramdam ng ground vibration because of the geographical distribution of earthquakes in it. Hindi siya kaparte. Whereas distributed properly, sa Luzon meron, sa Visayas meron, sa Mindanao meron. Pero dahil separated siya mula doon sa mga regions na yan, hindi siya naaapektuhan. Unless merong bulkan o let's say na sumabog na meron sa Palawan, ayun, maaapektuhan talaga siya. Pero if the volcanoes or the eruption happened, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, hindi niya mararamdaman or hindi siya maaapektuhan because of that geographical condition. Okay? Next. Risk to earthquakes. So kanina na-mention ko dun sa weekly home learning plan, ano-ano yung mga provinces na risky in terms of earthquakes. So risk to earthquakes, the top 10 provinces that are at risk to earthquakes are the following. La Union and Pangasinan are prone to earthquakes. So ito nga yung dalawa sa mga lugar na talagang naapektuhan during the 1990 earthquake. So yung La Union, Pangasinan, and then followed by Baguio City. Hindi ba kung titingnan natin, magkakadikit yan, magkakasunod na lugar. Tama? Pag pupunta ka sa Baguio, madadaanan mo yung mga na yan, yung mga probinsya na yan. So, La Union and Pangasinan are prone to Tarlac, yan kasama siya. Though hindi siya kasama dito, tingnan natin kasama ba si Tarlac? Though ang Tarlac madadaanan, but more or less, itong mga i-mention natin na mga lugar or probinsya are the top 10 provinces that are prone to earthquake or risky to earthquake. So La Union and Pangasinan are prone to earthquakes, especially the deep-focused ones. Due to the Manila Trench, while Surigao del Sur and Davao Oriental have earthquake hazards due to Philippine Trench. And nearby active faults, frequency of shallow and left lateral strikes lead to earthquakes in Nueva Vizcaya, Nueva Ecija, Eastern Pangasinan, Benguet, and La Union can be attributed to its location along the Philippine Fault Zone. However, Ifugao, despite having less earthquake occurrences, is at risk because of its very high vulnerability to disasters. So, itong mga na-mention na mga probinsya, mga lugar, ay 10 mga probinsya na kung saan ay delikado kapag ka nagkaroon ng lindol, or especially what we call the big one. So, kung titingnan natin, yung Pangasinan, itong Nueva Ecija, more or less, saan siya? Karamihan, nandito, matatagpuan saan? Sa Luzon.
Luzon po.
Diba? Luzon. Kaya nga, kung titingnan natin, kung meron mang mga lugar sa Pilipinas na talagang napakapanganib, yung tinatawag na the big one, so tayo na mga nandito sa Luzon. Kaya kung pwede lang pumunta ng ibang lugar, di ba, pwede nating gawin. Kaya lang, wala naman tayong pupuntahan maliban dito sa lugar na kinalakhan natin. But if we will try to look at it, except for Davao Oriental, Surigao del Sur, but usually, itong Nueva Ecija, Pangasinan, Benguet, La Union, ayan, more of Luzon yan. Kaya nga delikado tayo. Sabi ko nga, if you can still remember, kumbaga ang Pampanga, since yan ay kalapit na mga probinsya, so pagka yung, kumbaga 4 regions, so tayo ay napapalibutan, kapag bumitaw yung duyan sa north, okay pa tayo makakasalba. Pero kapag yung fault line doon sa south ay gumalaw, so nabitawan siya, so nagkabitak, so dito na lang sa dalawa. So what if gumalaw din yung mga fault lines na nandito? So ang mawawala, it's either mawala ang mapa ng Pampanga or it's either tumaas. At yung mga nasa paligid natin ang mawala. Ganun naman ang mangyari, di ba? So it's either magkakaroon dun sa transform. Di ba? Sabi nga natin, merong movements ng plate. So it can be divergent moving away. It can be crashing or convergent, nagka-crash. Or it can be transform na kung saan nag-slip away. So pwedeng yung isa, yung eto pantay sila sa umpisa, but because of the movement, nag-slip away. So yung isang portion, yung ibang portion tumaas, yung ibang portion naman na nasa kapantay, bumaba. So any of those things can possibly happen if there's an earthquake or if the big one occurs. So tayo na mga nasa Luzon ang talagang maaapektuhan. Okay, so okay na yan. Okay. So ito hindi ko na rin ipagagawa, but more or less you should know what to do when an earthquake occurs. So create an emergency plan during an earthquake using the jumbled procedures provided below. So merong mga instruction or procedures dyan sa ilalim. So all you have to do is to arrange. Now, ano ang ilalagay? Assuming na gagawin nyo siya. What to do before an earthquake? Kung ikaw ang nasa sitwasyon na kung baga nagpaplano ka kasi marami ng lindol ang nagaganap sa paligid. So ano ang mga dapat mong gawin or mga emergency plans to do before as preparation before an earthquake? Ano yung ilalagay mo dito? Now, dito sa susunod, what to do during an earthquake? Assuming that an earthquake is going on now, what are the things that we should do? Ano yung dapat nating gawin? And then, kailangan ba masyak ka? Hindi ka nagagalaw, matulala ka na lang sa isang tabi? And dito sa third box, what to do after an earthquake? So kapag bato natapos na yung lindol, let's say wala nang shaking, magtatatakbo ka na sa labas, sisigaw ka na, maghihisterya ka na. So what are the things that you should do after an earthquake? So those are the things that even if we do not write, more or less dapat in our mind, we have plans to do. Even yung mga anak natin o even tayo sa pamilya, alam natin, what if lumindol? O what if bumigay ang bahay? Ano yung dapat nating gawin? Saan tayo pupunta? Dapat merong plano. Kasi we can never tell when and where and when it will happen. Kung kailan at kung saan mangyayari, hindi natin alam. And so the best thing that we can do is to have an emergency plan. So ito yung supposed to be pamimilian nyo na ilalagay nyo sa bawat boxes na nandiyan. Okay? What is volcanic hazard? Actually ito, nandun na rin yan sa sinamarize na natin. It is very essential to determine what are the potential volcanic hazards today for us to be prepared and understand the possible effects of it in our environment and health. So pag sinabing volcanic hazard, it refers to any potential and significant danger process like lahar, ash falls, pyroclastic flow, ballistic projectile, volcanic gases, and lava flows. So yung mga na-mention natin, those are the materials that are being expelled by the volcano during the eruption. At ito yung magkokos ng panganib. So halimbawa, yung lahar. Alam natin na yung lahar, it is a lava that combines with water and flows. Lava yan na binuga ng lupa. Pag nasa loob ng bulkan, magma, hot molten materials. Yung magma na yon, kapag lumabas ng bulkan, nagiging lava. Now, for example, during volcanic eruption, umulan. Yung lava na yon, syempre, hahalo sa tubig at magpo-flow. Then, that lava will become lahar. At delikado kapag lahar. Bakit? Kasi kapag ikaw ay na-stuck sa isang, kumbaga na-stuck ka sa lahar, dahil putik yan, later on titigas yan. Kaya nga ang isang area na infested with lahar, yung lupa doon hindi na napapakinabangan kasi nagiging putik siya na later on ay parang nagiging cemented o para siyang semento na natutuyo. Kaya yung lupa na merong natuyuan ng lahar, so ang ending hindi na siya nagiging fertile kahit kailan. Kumbaga, hindi na siya mapapakinabangan. So sabi ko nga, if you can still remember, merong place dito sa Pampanga na because of that Mount Pinatubo eruption, yung lupa na yon na dati ay pang-agrikultura, hindi na napapakinabangan kasi hindi na siya natatamnan. Napapakinabangan in a sense na pag may mga pelikula para siyang ginagawang disyerto na kung saan doon naggegera yung mga tao. Pero other than that, yung agricultural land na yon na dating tinataniman, hindi na napapakinabangan ngayon because of that.
Wari, no?
Yes. So, these are some of the potential and potential hazards of volcanic eruption. So, while volcanic risk is any damage or possible loss, kapag sinabi namang volcanic risk, ito ay damage or possible loss as a result of the volcanic hazard that might be incurred by persons, property, business establishments, which has an impact to the productive capacity and sustainability of a population. Pag sinabi naman nating volcanic risk, ito naman yung damage na kung saan nagre-resulta ng kawalan ng buhay, properties, mga negosyo na may malaking epekto saan? Sa pagiging productive ng mga tao dun sa isang lugar. So halimbawa, yung volcano nag-release ng lahar, ng ashfall, ng mga abo. So ang ending, itong mga abo na to na volcanic hazard, barangay. So dahil yung barangay ay hindi ready sa mga abo na makakapal yan at pag yan na-inhale mo, mahihirapan kang huminga. At pag yan ay pumasok sa ilong mo at dumirekta sa baga, pwede kang magkaroon ng respiratory problems. And since the people in that place are not ready for that kind of hazard, so ang tendency, it cause what? Damage or possible loss of lives of many. So maraming tao yung namatay. So pwede rin yung mga properties. So dahil let's say yung mga ballistic projectile, pag sinabing ballistic projectile, iyan yung mga pwedeng mga bolang apoy na mula sa bulkan ay binabalibag papalayo para siyang bolang apoy. Na anytime, anything na tamaan niya, pwedeng matunaw o masunog. So imagine, ganun katindi yung volcanic eruption. So pwedeng yung mga properties din ay mawala. Yun, let's say may mga taniman ka ng tubo o kung anumang mga pananim. Let's say yung mga business establishments. So let's say may negosyo ka sa palengke, ang pinaka-sentro kung saan doon ibinubuga yung mga pyroclastic flow. Pag sinabi namang mga pyroclastic flow, iyan yan naman yung mga liquid na kahit anong pigil mo, kahit na buhusan mo pa yan ng tubig, hindi siya basta-basta mamamatay. Sa pyro means fire, plastic, kumbaga apoy na dumadaloy, para siyang apoy na dumadaloy na hindi basta-basta namamatay, na lahat ng daanan niya ay kaya niyang tunawin. So imagine, yung pyroclastic flow, dumaloy doon sa kabahayan. So anything na madaanan niya, lulusawin niya. Ang best example nga noon, merong malaking lata na yung ginagamit sa construction. During that time, nadaanan yung malaking lata na yun, nakasya yung tao. So nadaanan ng pyroclastic flow, then after na madaanan, wala na. Flattened na, as in wala na, parang natunaw siya. And since yung lata ay metal, so imagine, kaya niyang tunawin ang metal. Plus, kung talagang matindi ang epekto, so yung mga ballistic projectile, yung mga bolang apoy, pwedeng ibalibag yan. So kung anumang tamaan yan, properties, business establishments, lives, so lives of people, so lahat pwede niyang wasakin. So that is the volcanic risk na pwedeng idulot ng mga hazards like lahar, ashfall, pyroclastic flow, ballistic flow, yung mga volcanic gases. Sa pag sinabi namang volcanic gases, so syempre, yung mga methane gas na kung saan yung singaw yan, hangin na galing sa pagsabog ng bulkan. So hindi mo siya kayang i-inhale since we are not used to getting of methane and carbon dioxide. Ang kailangan natin, oxygen. So mahihirapan din tayong makahinga. So, yung mga lava flows naman. So halimbawa, nandun ka malapit sa bulkan, dumalo yung lava, kasama ng mga pyroclastic flow. So, it will cause a lot of risk, not just in the lives, but also in properties of people. Okay, so iyan yung panganib na dala kapag mayroong volcanic eruption. And tayo, sabi nga, meron dyan na mayon, meron na very active. Tapos dito malapit-lapit sa atin yung Taal. Then meron tayong Mount Pinatubo na hindi naman natin masasabi na extinct kasi 1990 lang siya sumabog, and for us to consider that as extinct, as in totally wala na, dapat 1,000 taon siya na hindi sumabog. So in that, we can still consider that as active at nagpapahinga lang. So yun ay pwedeng mag-cause sa atin ng damage. So according to Tiling 1980, over 200,000 people have lost their lives due to volcanic eruptions in the past 500 years. An average of 845 people died each year between 1900s and 1986 from volcanic hazard. So imagine kung gaano karaming bilang ng tao ang namatay at nawala dahil lang sa volcanic eruptions. He also added that the number of deaths between these years is far greater than the number of deaths from previous centuries, is not due to increased volcanism, but due to the people populating the flanks of the active volcanoes and valley areas near those volcanoes. So, kung ikukumpara daw yung loss of lives noong mga sinaunang panahon kumpara sa during 1990s, mas marami yung namamatay netong mga 1990s. Bakit? Hindi dahil sa mas matindi yung pagsabog ng bulkan, kundi dahil people populating the flanks. Kasi mas marami ang tao sa panahon ngayon kumpara noong araw. Kahit sabihin mo pa na noong araw ay ang mga nanay at tatay ay anak ng anak, ang isang pamilya, 11. But then again, compared with the number of members of the family before and now, mas populated ang Pilipinas sa ngayon. Kasi parang dati, ilang million lang ang populasyon natin. Pero ngayon, nasa 100 plus na. So, ibig sabihin, isa sa nagiging reason kung bakit maraming buhay ang nawawala because of the volcanic eruption, it's not because of the effects of the strength of the volcanic eruption. It's because of the people populating the flanks of the active volcanoes and valley areas near volcanoes dahil wala nang matiran. Marami nang nakatira na tao sa Maynila. So, ang ending yung iba pumunta sa probinsya, wala silang sariling lupa. Ang ginawa nila, naghanap sila ng mga lugar na walang tao. So pumunta sa bundok. Yung iba nakatira nga sa paanan ng bulkan. So more or less, sila yung talagang mga magiging biktima ng volcanic eruption. And other hazards. If there's an earthquake, so sila din ay kauna-unahan ding maaapektihan. Okay? So let us proceed. Potential volcano-related hazards. So, ano ba yung mga potential volcano-related hazards? So, una, yung lahar is a violent type of mud flow. Sabi nga natin, ang lava, once na haluan ng tubig, nagiging lahar. It is a mud flow. Putik siya na umaagos. Or debris flow composed of slurry of pyroclastic material, rocks, debris, and water. So, imagine, sama-sama siyang lupa, putik, pyroclastic material, bato, at kung ano-ano pang mga debris na galing dun sa pagsabog ng bulkan at tubig. Typically, this flows down from a volcano, typically along a river valley. So imagine kung ikaw ay na-stuck dyan. So, pag naabutan ka ng talagang, let's say, ng alanganin, so pwede kang ma-stuck dyan at mahihirapan ka na makaalis. Bakit? Because it is a mud flow. So putik siya na umaagos. Di ba pag ikaw na punta sa putikan, para ang hirap gumalaw. Okay yan kung tubig lang water flow Kaya mong mag-move as fast as you can. But if it is a mud flow, so dahil putik yan, mahirap ang paggalaw. So that is one of the related hazard of volcanic eruption. They are also destructive, which can kill many lives and destroy houses and establishments. It has an estimate of about 140 meters deep and can destroy structures in its path. The eruption of Mount Pinatubo, Zambales in 1991 killed about 722 people and even left more than 200,000 people homeless. So yan ang bilang ng mga taong naapektuhan ng volcanic eruption due to mud flow, volcano-related hazard. Next, ashfall. So ito, ramdam ko yan. Kasi natutulog kami during that time, 1990s, grade 5 ako noon, na tapos yung kumot ko, sabi ko ang bigat-bigat tapos magalas. Yun pala, yung aking kumot ay panay abo na. At yung palang abo na yun ay dahil sa pagputok ng Mount Pinatubo. So ash formed when solid rocks from the volcano shatter and magma separates into a minute particle during the explosive volcanic activity. So, ma'am, so saan po nang gagaling yung ash fall? So yung ash fall originally ay solid rock. Bato siya na solid. Pero because of the volcanic eruption, yung pagsabog ng bulkan, nagkaroon ng volcano shatter and magma separates into a minute particle. So pag sinabi natin shatter, so kumbaga eto yung solid rock, sumabog siya. So syempre pag yung solid rock o yung bato ay sumabog, magkakaroon ng mga small particles yan. Hanggang ito yung ibuga na ng bulkan. At dahil small particles siya, it can be carried by air. Kaya nga imagine, mula sa Zambales, bakit nakarating ng Bulacan-Bulacan? Because the ash falls are carried by the air. So dala siya ng hangin. Why? Because they are very minute particle. When we say minute, very small, very tiny. At dahil napakaliit niya, kaya siyang tangayin ng hangin at dalhin sa iba't ibang parte. And sabi nga, there is this record that ash fall from the volcanic eruption of Mount Pinatubo even reached Australia. Diba? Imagine, ang Australia ay nasa southern part. Tingnan natin yung globo o yung mapa. Nasa southern part siya. Pero bakit nakarating ang ashfall even in Australia? Ma'am, it's because the minute particles of the shattered rocks were carried by the air or the wind. Dinala siya ng hangin. Okay, so these very fine particles may be carried for many miles, settling out as a dust-like or powder-like across the landscape. This is known as an ashfall. So para siyang pulbos o na maligasgas na kulay puti o kulay gray na kaya siyang dalhin ng hangin. So volcanic ash is hard and abrasive, not soft and fluffy, unlike the ash that forms from the burned wood and other combustible materials. Ma'am, ano po ang kaibahan ng volcanic ash sa ash na nalilika kapag nagsunog ka ng papel o ng kahoy? So magkaiba. Yung volcanic ash, hard siya. At pag sinabing abrasive, pwede siyang makasugat, pwede siyang maka-cause ng let's say ng mga hiwa-hiwa. Bakit? Because originally they are from the shattered stones. Hindi mo alam kung anong klaseng stones yan. So, iyan ay matigas and abrasive, not soft and fluffy. Di ba yung abo sa papel, pagka hinawakan mo, malambot, tas parang sa pulbos? Pero itong volcanic ash, maligas-gas siya and matigas, and at the same time, pag hinawakan mo, pwede kang masugatan. So that's the difference of ashfall from the volcano. Okay, or the volcanic ash. I just hope na nakikinig pa kayo. Okay, how about pyroclastic flow? So pyroclastic flow is a combination of a high-density mix of hot lava sa blocks, so mga bloke ng mga bato, pumice. Kapag sinabing pumice, iyan yung lightweight na mga bato na kulay puti, na pag nilagay mo sa tubig, lumulutang. Pumice, ash, meron din siyang abo, and volcanic gas. So yan yung pyroclastic flow. Hot lava siya, mga bloke, mga bato, mga pumice na magagaang na mga bato na kayang tangayin ng hangin, abo, at saka volcanic gas. Pumice is a light-weighted, white in color and dead stone from the eruption of volcano. So generally, it flows on valleys and other low-lying areas, and depending on the volume of rock debris carried by the flow, and can deposit layers of loose rock fragments. So ayan yung nakikita nyo sa screen. Yan yung pyroclastic flow. Na kadalasan kapag siya ay kakalabas pa lang sa crater or sa bunganga ng bulkan, so makikita mo na para siyang apoy. talagang napakainit na apoy na kulay orange, kulay red na dumadaloy. At kung hanggat yung kanyang init ay hindi nako-consume or hindi nauubos, dadaloy siya hanggang kahit na ilang kilometro pa yung layo. So that is pyroclastic flow. Excuse? Next, ballistic projectile. Kapag sinabi naman nating ballistic projectiles are the results of volcano eruption in hurling rocks in the air. So pag sinabi nating hurling rocks, ito yung mga bato at yung batong nag-aapoy na hinahagis mula dun sa loob ng bulkan papalabas. Kaya delikado lahat ng matamaan yan, especially kung yung bato na yun ay nag-aapoy. So these are the hurling rocks in the air. These blocks and bombs are like a fireball coming from a canyon and usually reach within 2 kilometers of the vent and can reach up to 5 kilometers or even further. Kaya nga kapag ang bahay mo ay nasa malapit sa bulkan, for example, 3 kilometers away from the volcano, at talagang matindi yung pagsabog, dahil ang capacity o yung layo na pwedeng maabot ng ballistic projectile is up to 5 kilometers, at yung mga bato na yan na ibinubuga ay tumama sa bahay mo, sigurado tupok ang bahay mo. Baka pati ikaw litsyon, kasi talagang masusunog ka. Okay kung bato lang sana, pero since nanggaling yan sa sumabog na bulkan, obviously, iyan ay bato na nag-iinit at nag-aapoy. Okay? So that is ballistic projectile. Na kapag sinabi naman natin na volcanic gases, so hangin o gas, these are dissolved gases from magma which provide the driving force that causes volcanic eruption. As magma arises in the surface and pressure decreases, gases are released from the liquid portions of the magma. So katulad ng nangyari noon sa Taal Volcano, yung mga tao, nahihirapan silang huminga. Bakit? Kasi nagbubuga ang Taal ng napakabahong amoy. Yun ay mga volcanic gases na pwedeng mag-cause ng mga respiratory air ailments. Kaya nga, though pandemic na kung saan talagang nandoon na nagkaroon ng pagsabog, talagang doble-dobling mask ang kanilang mga suot kasi nga because of the volcanic gases released from the volcano. So in 1991, during the Mount Pinatubo in Zambales erupted, it ejected more than 250 megatons of gas into the upper atmosphere in a single day. And these gases can escape continuously into the atmosphere from the soil, volcanic vents, and hydrothermal systems. Water vapor, H2O, carbon dioxide, and sulfur dioxide are the most common volcanic gases. And kung water vapor lang, okay pa. Mainit lang yan na tubig. So, singaw. Pag sinabing carbon dioxide, eto harmful yan. Kasi hindi natin kailangan ng carbon dioxide. Actually, nilalabas natin yan sa katawan. Sulfur dioxide, asupre. Alam natin na pag asupre, hindi siya, talagang mainit siya, na sabi nga, kapag ikaw nadikit dyan, malulusaw yung portion na nadikit sa'yo. So these are the gases that are being released from the volcano during eruption. So ano pa yung iba pang mga gases? Carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, carbonyl sulfide, carbon disulfide, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen methane, hydrogen fluoride, boron mercury, hydrogen bromine, vapor organic compounds, even gold. So itong mga ito ay mga harmful gases na once inhaled ay pwedeng mag-cause ng sakit, especially where? In our respiratory system. Lava flows, alam natin, yan yung pinaka-most common. Yung lava. Streams of molten rock that pour from an erupting vent is called lava flows. Lava is from the erupted volcanoes, either no explosive activity or explosive lava fountains. So the speed of the lava flows depends on several factors. So number 1, type of lava erupted and its viscosity, stiffness of the ground over which it flows. The lava flows, okay, fluid basalt. Kapag sinabing fluid basalt, ito yung isang uri ng lava flow na kung saan may extend in kilometers, probably tens, from the eruption of volcano. So, kapag ang lawak na sakop ng pag-flow niya ay 10 kilometers per hour or 1 foot or gentle slope, so fluid basalt flow siya. Kapag sinabi namang viscous andesite, so flows move only a few kilometers per hour or a couple feet per second. Then, So more or less, whatever it is, fluid basalt or viscous andesite flows, so lahat yan, mula sa pagsabog ng bulkan, kung ano yung inilabas niya na molten rock at dumaloy, that is lava flow. Okay? So, since ang mga kailangan nyo namang sagutan ay nandun na sa weekly home learning plan na sinend ko ng nakaraan, so itong mga activities na ito, hindi na. Kasi nga sabi ko nga, sinimplify ko, so mula sa module 5 and 6, pinag-combine ko sila, kaya merong mga nandito na na-discuss na natin nung nakaraan kasi nga pinagsama ko na. So kung ano yung nandun sa weekly home learning plan, those are only the questions that you need to answer for this module. Okay, so again, that's end. Tanong. Uulitin ko, by next quarter, I will no longer distribute modules. I will be preparing PowerPoint presentation, and a day before our meeting, isesend ko yung PowerPoint, lahat ng mga gagawin nyo na activities, naka-intact na, nakalagay na dun sa PowerPoint, so yun na lang ang inyong sasagutan. But obviously, lahat naman ng mga competencies na kailangan matutunan for the quarter, yun din yung nandun sa module. Yun nga lang, dahil marami ang gas, and I have prepared only 19, kasi 19 lang yung last year na DRR, so, and since we are running out of time, so I will no longer prepare modules. Instead, we'll prepare PowerPoint presentation na kung saan nandun na rin yung mga activities na sasagutan. So we can simplify yung ating discussion. Nandun na, kung ano lang yung nandun, yun lang yung sasagutan. Whereas yung nandito sa module, meron lang na mga activities na pinapasagutan, pero ang dami-daming activities kayo na makikita. Kaya ang ending, yung mga hindi umaattend ng online, so ang ginagawa nila, kopya lang dun sa likod kasi hindi naman nila alam kung ano yung diniscuss. So whereas if I will just be sending to you the PowerPoint, alam na alam kung sino yung umattend at hindi umattend kasi kung ano lang yung nandyan, yun lang yung dapat kong makita kapag nagpasa kayo ng mga answer sheets. And I will just be benchmarking what my other co-teachers will do for the second quarter. So, yun yung plano for the second quarter. So, 15, 13 na lang kayong naka-join. Any more questions? Merong gustong linawin? Tanong? Actually, paulit-ulit, kahit sa second quarter, more or less, yan pa rin yung pag-uusapan natin.
Kung nasend na yung,
yes?
nasend na po ba yung work home learning po?
Hindi ko pa ba na-send?
Parang
Last
wala
week,
po.
hindi ko pa siya na-send?
Yung last week po.
Oo. Ano ba yung nandun sa last week?
Week 5 po.
Sige, tingnan ko Kung halimbawa, isasend ko na lang, pero more or less, nandyan. Kumbaga simplified, nandun yung mga provinces na usually affected by volcanic eruption, earthquake, so nandun. Ilan ang nararanasan na volcanic eruption o nandun. Kumbaga bilang lang yun, questions lang yung nandun. Yun na mismo yung sasagutan nyo. Okay? Any more? Now, kailan nyo gusto na magkaroon tayo ng summative assessment, yung final test natin? Give me schedule. Nakapag-summative na ba kayo sa ibang subject?
Opo.
Ano-ano mga subjects yung nakapag-summative na kayo?
EAPP.
EAPP. How about the others?
Coming pa lang. Sasagutan pa lang po.
Okay. So, kailan nyo gusto? O the same, Thursday? Hindi kaya tayo masyadong malate? Suggestion. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday.
Tuesday ma'am, may online po.
Again?
Tuesday may online po kami. Monday po wala.
Okay, sige, Monday. Google Forms. So, ano yung scope? Week 1 to week 2, as much as possible, kung paano yung mag-quiz ako, kung ano yung format, ganun lang din. True or false, multiple choice, and yung forming of words, yung hidden message. So, yung iba, ma'am, 50 points po yun. Bakit po yung iba, ba't ako po 40 lang? Bakit po siya 45? Kasi tinitingnan ko, merong mga, tama siya na kaya lang merong isa, dalawa, tatlo na words na mali ng pwesto. So, ite-deduct mo yung mga yun. Kasi once na namali ng pwesto, yung isang salita, affected na yung kabuuan. Pero merong mga nakakuha ng eksaktong tamang sagot. So, they get 50 points. So, siguro, mamaya i-download ko yung pinaka-summary nung mga scores, then isesend ko dito sa GC. And then yung 8 na nandoon sa isang quiz link, itatry ko na i-evaluate and then isesend ko rin yung summary nila. Para at least alam nyo yung inyong score. So that is 70 points. Kasi yung mismong hidden message, 50 points yun. So more or less, kung paano yung quiz natin, ganun lang din yung final exam na ibibigay ko sa inyo. I will not, essay ba? Hindi na siguro. Yun lang, yung hidden message. Kumbaga mag-a-arrange kayo ng words. At the same time, parang essay na rin siya kasi kayo mismo yung mag-aayos. Ang kaibahan lang, meron na mga clue. Yung iba hindi nila na-gets. Yung clue kasi na yun, for example, yung first word, hour. Yung hour, nakalagay number 1. Ibig sabihin, siya yung number 1 word dun sa pinaka-paragraph mo. Kung ang number niya ay 15, magbilang ka ng 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 15, siya yung pang 15th word. So, ganun yung logic nun. Hindi ko maintindihan bakit yung iba, ibang salita yung binuo. Yung iba naman, ang ginawa kung ano yung pagkakaintindi nila doon sa mga salita na yun. Yung iba kinopya lang, hindi naman inayos. So, sayang yung 15 points. Whereas the instruction is very clear. So sayang sana, 50 points yon, mag-aayos lang kayo. At ang clue words ko, automatic 20 points na yung bonus nyo kung na-pwesto nyo lang siya ng tama. 30 na lang ang hahanapan nyo. Yung 20 points given na, parang pa-bonus ko na. Okay? So any more questions? Sige, send ko yung weekly home learning plan. After this, questions lang siya na kailangan nyo lang sagutin. Any more questions?
Bukas na din po itabas yun.
Ang alin?
Yun po, yung sasagutan sa eto pong week na po. Bukas na din po itabas.
Oh yes, kaya naman siya. Kaya naman.
Sige po, thank you.
Any more?
Sana po.
Okay. Yes, kung wala na, see you next week for the next week, second quarter, parang hindi pa. Yun yung, hindi na tayo magkikita online, but I will just send you link kasi yung next week is the schedule for the assessment week. So kumbaga panay test lang kayo niyan or panay final quiz or kung ano man tawag ng teacher nyo doon sa assessment week na yon. So that is from November 8 to 12. Then we will see each other for the second quarter, November 15. So, yun yung first day ng second quarter. So next week, I will just send you the link of the assessment. So yun, and then yun na. At kung meron pa kayong mga kulang, let's say may mga magre-remedial sa klase, so yun, isasabihan kayo ng mga teachers kung let's say, after computing all the scores, wala, kulang pa rin, ginawa mo yung sa palagay mo ay dapat pero hindi pa rin pala sapat. So magme-message yung mga teacher kung ano yung dapat yung gawin para makadagdag kayo ng puntos. Kung magdadagdag kayo. But if hindi na at talagang kumulang, ibig sabihin failing ang inyong score. Especially dun sa mga hindi nagpapasa ng requirements. Sabi ko nga, hindi graded ang module. So yung iba talagang todo effort sa pag-prepare ng answer sheet. Though I appreciate the effort, pero again, kapag naman naubos ang oras niyo sa pagde-decorate ng kung ano-ano, na hindi naman talaga mahalaga, since uulitin ko, ang modules are not graded. Additional points lang siya. Ang dapat yung binibigyang pansin ay yung mga quizzes, assignment, activities, yun, kasi written work siya. At yung mga performance task na ibinibigay, yun ang graded, not the module or not the answer sheets you are submitting weekly. Though meron kayong puntos, for example, complete ka, we have 6 modules, 2 points ang binigay kong score for each module, kumpleto ka, 6 times 2, 12. So kung kumpleto ka, yung modules mo or answer sheets, additional task lang yun. So pwede kong ilagay din sa performance or sa written, depende sa akin. So 12 points lang yun. Wala kang performance task. Ang meron ka lang answer sheets. Wala ka ring quizzes. So hindi ka rin papasa. Kasi 12 points lang yun. At wala namang grade na 12 points. So yun. Ang kailangan pagpursigihan, written at performance task. Any more? So kung wala na, good luck. Review your notes. Madali lang yung quiz. So siguro this time, yung makaka-perfect rather, makaka-perfect ng exam ko, will have additional 1 point sa final grade for first quarter. So for example, na-perfect mo yung exam, automatic, kung ano yung grade mo, let's say ang grade mo ay 87, na-perfect po yung exam ko, plus 1, 88 ka. Yun ang magre-reflect sa card mo. Yes, Jovelyn, you're raising your hand.
Yung summative, ma'am, cover from 1 to 6.
Week 1 to 6. Pero, di ba, paulit-ulit lang naman yung topic natin, panay hazards, disaster. So, ulit-ulit lang siya. More or less, dyan lang naman siya nakafocus. And we are all very much aware naman dun sa mga pinag-uusapan natin kasi na-experience naman natin siya kahit paano. So, dun lang, from week 1 to week 6. Any more? So kung wala na, siguro pwede na tayong magpahinga o kayo pala, pwede na magpahinga kasi meron pa akong isa. See you on November 15.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yung attendance natin.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Ma'am.
Thank you po.